everybody, and welcome back to Gregtech. New Horizons. How's your guys' day been? Good? Let me know down in the comments below. So last episode, we got ourselves Infinity. With Infinity, we were able to craft a neutronium energy cell, which now gives our ME system creative power, and the Infinity booster card, which now allows us to access our ME system wirelessly from any distance and across dimensions, which is so handy when we're out in space and I'm missing something. I can just open my inventory and take it out. Speaking of space, we also got ourselves our tier 8 rocket. With this now, we can go visit tier 8 planets. And on those tier 8 planets, we have new resources like Awakened Draconium. Oh, this is so nice now because now we unlock the next tier of coils. As well as actually on tier 8 planets, we do actually find Bedrockium. It only spawns on one planet as a small ore. But I mean, once we set up a bunch of multi-block ore miners, we actually get quite a bit. And as you can see, I'm up to 31,000 of it. Damn, 31,000 exactly. That's pretty cool. Along with our rocket, we also got ourselves our relocator, which allows me to teleport back to locations I've been to if I've set a waypoint. So to set a waypoint, you just shift right click, name it, hit the check, and then you can just teleport to it from this menu just by opening right click. And as you can see, I've been to a lot of planets already. And it's very handy to have this thing because now I can just teleport back to planets I've been to and check on my multi-block miners. So what have I done since last episode? Well, I have done some building. I have tore down our old factory and have rebuilt a brand new one. And it looks way better than our old factory. It's fairly empty at the moment because I have no clue what I'm actually going to be doing in here just yet. But the only thing that's really in here is our applied energistic setup up here. So I've slightly upgraded it. It is more or less set up the same way as before. We've got more crafting CPUs. These ones here have got way bigger storage on them, and they're running 64 core co-processing units instead of the quad cores. Our controller is set up here, hanging from the ceiling like some sort of spider. I really like that. Still using P2P tunnels, but all the P2P tunnels now that are running around the base are being connected wirelessly. So we have some connections here that's connected to the subnet, which then just runs down here, connects up to 32 different P2P connections, and they're just scattered all over the place. And I've named the wireless connectors so I know where they go. Like these ones go over to our Vulcanuses. This one here goes to our circuit component crafting, which is where our laser engravers are down below. We have auto crafting building 1, which is, as you can kind of see, up around over there. And yeah, there is a lot of connections on this thing, and we have plenty of room to add way more if needed. Over here, we have fluid storage. This is more or less the same as before. There's just a lot more ME drives for storage, which is amazing. Item storage has got a slight bit of an upgrade. We were using 256k storage ME cells, but now we're using the 1024 ones. But even that is not enough, as you can clearly see. All of the cells are basically full, apart from maybe like 10 to 15 of them down here. So I need to make even more or upgrade these to a higher capacity. But that is very expensive right now in terms of circuits. So hopefully after today, circuit production should be a lot cheaper. So what is the plan for today? Well, like I said, I want to fix the production cost of circuits. So how do we do that? Well, it's time for us to finally use this guy, the PCB factory. This guy should allow us to create thousands of circuit boards at a fraction of the cost. So for example, right now, the way we craft circuit boards are in these two large chemical reactors. The patterns down here are fairly expensive. So for us to make 64 elite circuit boards, it requires like 512 platinum foil and 64 fiber reinforced circuit boards. So 64 of them require, no, it's not that one, it's this one. 512 palladium foil. That's just for half it. So over 1,000 palladium foil just to make 64 circuit boards. If we were to use this new recipe in this PCB factory, we'll be able to create 64 of them for only 100 palladium. That's 10 times less. So this thing should be fairly fast. And there's actually something else I can do inside the PCB factory to increase the output. I'll talk more about that later. First, let's actually get this thing built. So to build ourselves the PCB factory, I'm going to need myself my hologram projector. But before we configure anything inside this guy, we need to configure some settings inside the controller. So in here, we're going to be running this guy at PCB factory tier 2. And then we want to come into the configuration menu and enable ourselves the biochamber. We're going to rotate that biochamber by 90 degrees. I've already set up everything in here so it fits perfectly in a chunk. So if you want to copy that, you can. These are the settings. And we have liquid cooling tower. Liquid cooling allows for overclocking, and it gives me default overclocks. Now, there is this thermo sync, which actually enables perfect overclocks, which is, I think, 4 times the time discount per energy tier above the lowest one, it says in here at NEI. So I think by default, if we were to look at this recipe here, our cooling tower should give me default overclocks, which should be half the speed when I go up to ZPM. So at LUV, it is 14 seconds, but at ZPM with the cooling tower, it should only be 7 seconds long. And then with the thermosync, it should be like 3.5 seconds long or something like that. I could be wrong, but that is how perfect overclocks were working with our circuit assembly lines. If you remember, the time discount was like divided by 4. So I don't know if that's actually going to be the case here, because this guy can actually do some other stuff as well. So let's actually have a look at the multi-block projection. And this is our biochamber on the right. And for some reason, even though I have the cooling tower enabled, it still doesn't show up sometimes. So I have to come in here, turn it off and turn it back on. And now when I project it, we can see it at the back. So if we turn on chunk borders now, we can see it is perfectly within inside a chunk, which is nice. So to build this guy, of course, we're going to need all the building blocks, which are in this chest right here. And to build this now, we need to configure some settings inside our projector. So back here in NEI, we want to go to the multi-block structure, which looks like this. We want to set it to tier 2. We want to have glass tier 18, which gives us the default reinforced EV glass. This can be any tier of glass, which is nice. It's not dependent on the energy hatch tier, so that's good. We're going to enable OC tier 1, which gives us that liquid cooling tower in the back. And we're going to enable the bio upgrade, which is this stainless steel thing on the right. And just to show you the tier 2 tower, which we cannot make at the moment because it is way too expensive and it requires materials we do not have. The Infinity Cool casing requires molten space-time and hypogen. 2 things that both require a DTPF. Not doing that anytime soon. So in here, we want to make sure we have tier 2, glass tier 18, OC tier 1, OC tier 2 turned off, and bio upgrade. And then while holding the projector, we can click copy. Now, when we open this, we can see them in here. The last thing I want to add to this guy is gtnh hatch, because I want to add those in manually. So with that all selected, we can go ahead and build this guy. No more blocks are being placed, so it's time for me to come in and place the hatches. So where these hatches go is actually on the bottom 2 back rows here. So the bottom row, I've already got down our ME connections and stuff, and our power cable. So we're going to be powering this guy with a ZPM 256 amp laser hatch. It's really nice this guy can run with lasers. Next to that, we're going to have a quadruple input hatch UHV for superior capacity, and because some of these recipes require up to 3 different fluids. So quadruple input hatch. So next to that is going to be a super bus UV tier for 144 input slots. This guy also needs to be set to circuit 1, so don't forget to do that. And the next to that is going to be an output bus for our, of course, item output. Above the input bus, we're actually going to be putting our maintenance hatch right here. And now there's actually one more thing we need to add to this guy that took me a while to figure out. I was trying to test this guy in creative to see how he functions and how he's actually supposed to be built. But if I look at it right now, it still says incomplete structure. It took me forever to figure this out, and I actually had to go to the gtnh Discord to find out what was wrong. Turns out, on the cooling tower, you have to have your fluid input for coolant, because each one of these towers require a different type of coolant. The one we're using requires distilled water, and the thermal sink, which required that infinity cool casing, requires supercoolant. I thought the input for that is on like the actual main block. No, it actually has to go on the cooling tower. So bottom middle right here, I'm going to add stocking input hatch. And then we'll just connect that up to the ME system. So let's go ahead and do that. So to provide this guy now with the patterns, we're going to need a ME fluid storage bus. We're going to need a dual interface. We're going to need another dual interface, but make sure it's the full block. We're going to need some ME cable and some quartz fiber. So onto the super bus, our main input for items, we're going to put the solid block of the dual interface. On the left side of that, we're going to have the flat one. On the quadruple input hatch, we're going to have our fluid storage bus, because fluids on this thing are going to be handled on a subnet. So that needs a cable to connect the 2 together. We're going to add a quartz fiber to power it, and then we'll run this cable across to here. Now, just make sure you run your cable over to your distilled water input. So make sure that is distilled water. Nice. So that should be everything set up. Oh yeah, do not forget to color your laser hatch or the thing will not be powered. And that should be everything. So if everything formed, we should hear the maintenance noise. Yes, we do. Nice. And it's time to get this guy up and running. So let's actually see how much of a discount we're actually going to get from this. So right now, I want to start slowly transitioning to using auto maintenance hatches, but they are so expensive to craft in terms of circuits. So if we look up auto maintenance hatch, to craft 100 of these guys, using our default current circuit board recipe, it's going to require nearly 50,000 palladium ingots. That's a lot. And like that turns into nearly what, like 300,000 palladium foil? Nearly 30,000 platinum? That is so much. And if we were to continue using this recipe any longer, we'd run out of palladium. Even though I have quite a bit of palladium built up, I would run out of this guy in no time. So it's best we start using this PCB factory recipe. So nearly 50,000 palladium and 30,000 platinum. Let's swap out the recipes now. So over here, we want to remove these recipes. I'm actually going to keep these two right here because they're actually used in some other recipes. So I'm just going to up their output. So we're going to have 256 fiber reinforced and 128 multi-layer fiber reinforced because it takes 2 fiber reinforced to make 1 multi-layer. So we'll double the output compared to this one. So the rest of these guys we'll delete. Right, so in this chest here now, I have our new patterns. So let's come over here now, put these in the dual interface. And let's have a look at the material cost for making 100 auto maintenance hatches. So it was 50,000 palladium. It is now only 35,000 foil. That's like, what, 10 times discount? Like 300,000 to 30,000? That's a massive discount. And like only 6,000 platinum when it was like 30,000? Oh my. I should have done this a long time ago. I think we only had access to this guy recently. I think back in like ZPM power because we needed UV energy on the assembly line. So ZPM, once we had the ZPM energy hatch, we could have made this guy. Oh my. But this can actually go further. If we come back in here to the configuration menu, you might have noticed something down here called a trace size. This will change a lot. So in here it says, smaller traces allow material saving, but takes longer to fabricate. What that means is if we set this guy to 50, which is the lowest number it can go to, it will actually double the output for the same material input. So for example, this guy would make 32 advanced circuit boards with these material inputs. With trace size set to 50, this would actually make 64 circuit boards. The only downside to it is it takes 4 times longer to craft. That's not a problem for me. I don't mind it taking a little bit longer to craft. Anyway, with like a ZPM 256 amp energy hatch, this guy is not going to be slow by any means. So let's turn him on and let's come back here now and modify some of the patterns. So everything back here, we want to double their output. So for advanced circuit board, we want to change this now to 64 output. Nice. And then do that for the rest of them. So 23, that will be 46. Okay, all their outputs have been doubled. So let's go ahead now and actually craft something. Actually, wait, no, we want to see the material discount now. So 100 of these. Before it was 35,000 palladium. Now it's 18,000. That is so good. It's nearly like a 20,000 less. Wow. So now we can craft circuits a lot cheaper. So good. So let's actually test it. Let's see how long it takes us now to craft some elite circuit boards. So right now we have 35. Craft me 1,000 of them. Oh my, before it would take more palladium foil just to make 64 of these in our old recipe. And we're making 1,000 of them for less. Go. Nearly 6 seconds for 64 circuit boards. That's not bad. Oh, this is going to be so good. And actually, one other benefit from using the PCB factory is when we're making the life support circuit boards. Remember this old recipe here? We had to use pumps, IV circuits, IV sensors, petri dishes. It was way too expensive. Now we can just skip this whole process and go directly into the circuit board. Oh, that's going to save me so much on pumps and circuits. So this is very, very nice. So with the PCB factory up and running, what are we going to do now? Well, we might as well continue with circuit board production and get ourselves the next tier, this ultra biomutated circuit board. To make this, we have everything but this stuff, sterilized biocatalyst medium. To make this, we're going to need a lot of things, but they shouldn't be too difficult to get. So we need to make ourselves raw biocatalyst before we make it into sterilized, and that requires stem cells, unknown crystal shards, T-cell seaweed extract, tritanium, and a bit of raw growth catalyst medium. So we have everything in here but this. This is the T-cell seaweed that is actually found on a different planet. So we need to go to that planet and actually gather a small bit because we need a tiny bit to begin. So eventually we'll be able to mass produce it, because you can see it is very expensive. Like one stack of the seaweed makes one extract. So yeah, we're going to need this in the millions. So to make it, we're going to need to make seaweed broth, and we need this culture. And this culture is made from the seaweed. So we're going to need to go get that. And it also does require this unknown liquid. Unknown liquid is found on a different planet. So let's go out to those planets now and gather some. So I've already been there, so I have a waypoint. So T-cell E, which is going to teleport us to this planet. So this planet is actually habitable, and it is one giant ocean. And one thing you might notice about this place, if I stare into the sky, there is meteors falling like non-stop. Yeah, it's constantly raining meteors. Like, look at this. Yeah, just stare into the sky and look, there's another one falling over there. They're non-stop falling in this place, which is kind of fun to watch. So we're going to need a pair of shears because the oceans here are completely filled to the brim with the seaweed. Oh, another explosion. So I'm just going to grab as much as I can. We only need a few stacks to begin, and then after that we can mass produce it. All right, shears broke, and whoa! That meteor almost struck me on the head. I don't know if that would actually have hurt me if it impacted with me, but yeah, damn, this is getting crazy. Yeah, just stare into the sky. You're just going to see them raining. Look, there's another massive one. But anyway, so with the seaweed gathered here, let's go get ourselves the unknown liquid, which I may have already done. So to find this unknown liquid, you need to go to the planet Bernarda C. So on this planet, all the fluid you see around is actually this unknown liquid. But it would actually be... Ugh, look at that thing. Yeah, they're using the mobs that spawn here. They're kind of weird. We got a tentacle and weird crab-looking thing. But yeah, it turns out this water does hurt you if you touch it. It doesn't seem to affect the monsters from this planet, but yeah, it can harm things that are not from this planet, I guess. But yeah, so all the fluid you see here is unknown liquid, but it'd be too annoying to try and like pump it up out of the ocean. Like there's a massive deposit over here in the oceans, but it can be found as an underground source. So I've set up a fluid drilling rig and mined out a lot of it. And it is very hard to find a decent supply of it around here. Like 0 to 1 liquid in this area, 5 to 9, 3 to 5. There is one location near where I spawned, near our landing point, that has 250 liquid. So I am trying to save that one so that when we finally get the infinity fluid drilling rig, it will no longer deplete the deposit under the ground and will always be extracting at a high rate. But the one I mined out right here had about 100, so we ended up with just over 235 million unknown liquid. So that is enough to get us going. And also the logs from this planet are also used in another line, and that is for Xenoxine. I was considering doing Xenoxine line today, but I don't think we're going to have enough time for it. And it actually ties in with the T-cell culture. We need to use this in a biolab with some sort of DNA sample or this plasmid, which actually is made from cultures made from this plank or this wood. So in the future, we will need this. And I've already set up a tree growth factory and made 35 million of this. So I have plenty of this wood to work with. So let's teleport back home now and get to work on making ourselves our raw biocatalyst. So to begin, we're going to need some seaweed and the unknown liquid. Unknown liquid I've already prepared up here in a super tank, and it's coming out these ender conduits into these biolabs. Because if we look here at the culture, it is a 2.5% chance to actually get it using this method. So I have 5 biovats set up to increase our odds. And once we get 1, we can use that in a bacterial vat to make this fluid. And with this fluid, then we can use that to make the cultures at a 75% chance. So I want to mass produce some of this fluid as well. So let's grab ourselves out some sterilized petri dishes and get to work. So another thing I actually want to get set up as well is these stem cells. It's also another culture we're going to need to make ourselves the raw biocatalyst. And I want to use this one temporarily. Once I've made enough of this raw biocatalyst, I want to turn it into some biocells. And then using those biocells, I can make a different type of culture. And using that culture, we can actually increase the amount of raw biocatalyst we make. So with this recipe here, we turn 8 raw growth catalyst into 2 liters of biocatalyst. But with the better culture, we'll turn 5 into 5. So it'll be a better ratio and it'll end up making us more in the future. It does require a little bit more seaweed, but it doesn't take as much stem cells anymore. So that is really nice. And it uses an infinity catalyst, which we have plenty of. So I want to get this guy set up to make some of these cultures, which is just stem cells, raw growth catalyst in a biolab. So that is going to be done right here. So I have a tank full of that. So I want to auto eject into here. And then over here, I want to turn on the extract. And now we sit and wait. And hopefully it won't take too long to get one culture. Okay, there we go. It didn't actually take too long, but we got ourselves one culture. So with this now, we want to throw it into a bacterial vat. And I've set up over here 3 brand new setups. And it was so easy to set these up because I just copied and pasted them using the matter manipulator. And one thing it does that I'm so happy about is it actually copy and pastes the covers as well. So like all these Tesla covers, it pasted them on as well. And all of the covers under here on the output hatch that automates this guy. And it copied over their settings. So I just need to do a slight adjustment to change their frequency number. So this one over here is running like frequency 7. So when I copied it over, it also had frequency 7. So I had to adjust it to frequency 8. This one here is on frequency 9. And this one on frequency 10. So this matter manipulator is the best thing ever in this update. Oh, it's going to make copying setup so easy. So with everything ready, let's actually make ourselves some of this fluid. So to make it, it is literally just combining water and sugar together. So in here, we want to supply water. We want to supply sugar on circuit 1. It has to be circuit 1. We don't need to do that one. We just need to do it for one of these guys. And in here, we can provide our culture. And it's going to slowly make us this fluid. And I'm going to let this build up to about 1 million liters in our ME system. And yeah, look how fast it's already up to. It's already up to 160. All right, there we go. Now it is producing the maximum amount it can with our output hatch. And if you remember, the closer the output hatch is to being half full, we'll get up to 1,001 times the output. So this guy could actually go a lot higher, but I think we're restricted on our output hatch. So I'd need a bigger one to get this guy to produce over 100k, I think. So yeah, this is working perfectly fine. And now if we look at our ME system, we should see it building up. 700k of it already. Damn. So we're just going to grab out a large fluid cell. We're going to grab out a bunch of this. And now we're going to duplicate it into more cultures. So everything here can more or less stop. Yeah, we haven't even gotten another one. So you stop extracting and I'm going to let it run out. So now to make more cultures using this fluid, we just need a cell of distilled water and some petri dishes. And I'm going to use this biolab for now. I have all these ones set up here with all of these different modules because I was going to do xenoxine, but I said I wasn't going to do it anymore. So with this then, it's a 75% chance and boom, we've already gotten all we need. So that's pretty good. You know what? I might as well let it finish. Damn, 8 of them. That is really nice. And we actually are going to need a lot of these in the future because like I said, it also is used in the xenoxine line. So yeah, having a bunch of these stored up is actually really nice. And we're over 1.5 million, so we can stop now. So you stop for now. So to make ourselves our seaweed broth using this, we're going to need a few things. We're going to need regular seaweed from Pam's Harvest Craft, which we get from our fishing port. We're going to need mithril dust, which we already get from mining on different planets. We get it from IO mainly. And energium dust, something we can already make no problem. The only thing that's kind of slightly annoying to make is this unknown nutrient agar. This requires meat extract, which requires fluid extracting minced meat. We already make minced meat from our fish over here doing our agar setup. If we look in here, we're making minced meat. The phthalic acid we already get from one of our plastic lines. We get it for making polybenzimazole, I believe. Unknown liquid we already got. Salt, stem cells we already have, and agar. So everything we have, no problem. It just requires UV and it only makes 8 liters or 8k liters at a time. But I have everything set up in this chemical reactor here, so we should be able to turn this on. And there we go. We're making unknown nutrient agar. It's 15 seconds at a time, so it's kind of slow. But that is going to end up going over here. So let's remove our water from here and replace with unknown nutrient agar. Replace the sugar and remove the circuit number with seaweed, mithril, and energium dust. And do the same over here. So all of that is set up now. The only thing we need to make sure is this output hatch is empty, so it won't be conflicting recipes. And we're ready to go. So all we have to do now is give these guys their culture. But as you can see, we're not 100% done yet. It does require sieverts. So we need to provide this guy with something radioactive in a radio hatch. So what are we going to give this guy? Well, after looking through NEI of what options we have, if we have a look at here, the best option is an aquata rod. But we need exactly 100, but the aquata rod gives off 130. So why am I going with such a high sievert? Well, looking through it, there is nothing that really gives close to 100, and if anything is viable, it's less than 100. And the only ones closest to 100 is something we cannot get. Like this one here gives off 100. We can't get ferrium rods. And there's something else in here that gives like 114 or something like that. I mean, like Tiberium could have worked as well. But the reason I went with Naquata is because we actually have so much of it. If we look here at Naquata, we have 10,000 rods. And we get back all these rods from like our Naquadria rods and enriched Naquata rods, because these are being used in Naquata reactors to power our multi-block miners out on different planets. So when they get consumed, they spit back out just regular Naquata rods. So we have so much of this to work with, so we're going to use them. So in here, when we provide it with Naquata rod, you can see it's producing 130 sieverts, and that is annoying. Yeah, I forgot these guys make an annoying sound. I believe in the new version 2.8.1, there is actually an icon in here you can click to muffle these guys, like there is now on these controllers, but they don't have it in this version, so I have to hit them with a hammer. But with 130 sieverts, in here with a radiation shutter, we can reduce that. So let's give it another Naquata rod at 130. Let's increase it to 10. Now it's down to 117. Let's do 20, 104, do 25. Okay, we went too far now, so it's less than 100. So 23 middle ground? Yes. So with a shutter control of 23, we're now only allowing out 100 sieverts. So this is working correctly now. So in here, I'm going to provide it with Naquata rods and make sure it is one stack. And this guy here is going to be limited to only one Naquata rod inside, so we don't waste them. And now if we look down here, yes, we are making our seaweed broth. Now we just need to sit back and wait for this guy to fill up the output hatch to halfway, which might take a while because this is a minute-long recipe. And I guess while I'm waiting, I'm going to swap over these 5 biolabs to start making this culture, because this is taking way too long. I believe this one's like a 7.5% chance. Yeah, and there's no fluid to actually make this easier, so I'm stuck with these odds. So might as well increase our output by using multiple biolabs. Okay, that took a little while, but the output hatch is now half full, and the actual limiter I have up here has reached its max. And that is 100,000 seaweed broth in the ME system. So with all of that being generated now, we can throw it through an industrial centrifuge on circuit 1 to make ourselves T-E seaweed. And damn, that's actually quite a bit of it already. So 448 of it. And where does this go now? This needs to go through an item extractor. And the only place I can put one right now that will get decent power is over here, because this is really the only place we have access to a large amount of UHV power. This thing is very slow. So I provided with 2 UHV energy hatches to run a UEV, and hopefully this guy should work pretty fast. Okay, 29 in 60 seconds is not bad compared to, what, the default UV 3 minutes to make one? Now we make 29 in 1 minute, so this thing is what, like 29 times faster? Yeah, it's a lot faster. Actually, I think it's a lot less than that, but whatever. But yeah, so this thing is making our seaweed now. Do we have enough of our cultures? We have 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Nice. Okay, so we can save 1. So let's stop the extract right here because we don't need this going anymore. And let's get ourselves now our raw growth catalyst going, or a raw biocatalyst. So each one of these guys here is going to get a culture. And the last 2 over here are both going to be used for making raw biocatalyst. In the future, if I need to expand, I do have plenty of space to work with down the way. I think I expanded down here for our chemical plants if needed. So in the future, if I need to make more chemical plants, I can always expand down the way. So I might do the same in here for the future, because I do want to set up some chemical plants on the back wall here. And these are just going to be used for making mutated living solder. As you remember, I made botanium a while ago, and this is where the casings went. So this guy is the maximum tier it can go. I think the coils can go slightly higher, but since we have Awakened Draconium, I'm using Awakened Draconium on these guys. And any catalyst I put in here now will never actually deplete, which is going to be very nice when we actually use or making Mutated Living Solder. Because if I look in here at Mutated Living Solder, it does need a catalyst, and that is a lot of infinity in the quadrant if I have to keep making this thing. But once I make one, it will never run out, unless I need to make more for multiple chemical plants. But for one should be fine for now. But yeah, so over here we have all of these guys. For items and fluids input, we are going to provide it now with what? Raw growth catalyst. For the items is going to be titanium, T-E seaweed, unknown crystal shards, and stem cells. And same over here. And now it should be asking just for sieverts. Yes, 94 exactly. And the one I found that gives 94 exactly is this plutonium-239 rod. So this guy is going to be maxed out with 1. You are going to be provided in here. And now everything should turn on, right? Yes, it flashed. So 2 liters at 45 seconds each. Damn, this is going to take a while to fill, which I have anticipated, and it reduced the size of the output hatch. It is now an MV1 instead of an LUV because it doesn't actually increase the amount we produce. It just tells the thing how fast to actually make it then. So the smaller the output hatch, the faster it'll get up to speed. But if the output is larger than this output hatch, yeah, you're going to be wasting fluid then. So since this thing only produces like, what, 2 liters at a time? Yeah, I'm not too worried about this guy overflowing. And anyway, if I need to, I can increase the fluid output. But yeah, for now, we're just going to let this guy run, and hopefully he won't take too long to max out. All right, we are finally positive on raw biocatalyst. Took a while, but now we're producing upwards of 2,000 liters in here, which is the max this guy can actually produce. But once we unlock the next culture, it should be 5,000 at a time. So with that, I just need to grab out 1 cell of it to complete a quest. So with that being set up in here, this is the only location it can go because we don't really need raw biocatalyst for much else. We do need a small bit, of course, to make this culture, but that's the only use for this. Everything then will be fluid heated and turned into sterilized biocatalyst. So I'm just going to grab out 1 cell of this to complete the quest, which should be in UHV. Yep, and now it wants me to make some biocells with sterilized biocatalyst. But before I actually go do that, I do want to collect a good bit of this raw biocatalyst because this is still only a 7.5% chance of actually being able to get it. So I want to make sure I have a decent supply because I need 8 of these cultures. Okay, 2 cells should be more than enough. So all the excess raw biocatalyst that come through will be heated up to be sterilized. And I did actually upgrade the energy hatches over here ever so slightly to UV. So instead of taking 45 seconds, now they take 22.5 seconds. Don't know if that's going to help or not, but it does seem to be working just fine. Hopefully we don't run out of amps from our Tesla towers, but we should see this guy turn on now, right? There's some in there, so this guy should turn on. There we go. Maybe because he took a while to turn on because batch mode was on, but there we go. 5k sterilized biocatalyst. That then goes up over here into this chemical reactor. Where did I put it? This one right here. Don't mind the massive amounts of chemical reactors. I may have went a bit overboard with our matter manipulator. Maybe we probably will end up using them all, so why not? But yeah, so over here, we have this guy set up. So we need stem cells plus cosmic neutronium. And in here, we need to provide it with sterilized biocatalyst. And then this guy should turn on. Oh, wait, needs UV power. Hang on. There we go. Now it is running. And now we're making 32 biocells every 15 seconds. That's actually not that bad. So with that now, we can come down here to our biolabs. And in here, we can remove all these. These guys actually gave me all the cultures with the leftover fluid it had. Damn. And this guy, yeah, you can stop. So I'll just put everything away in here for the time being. I don't really need it. So I just need sterilized petri dishes, the raw growth or the raw biocatalyst, and our biocells, which we're already at 64. Nice. All right, now we just sit back and wait for hopefully one of these guys to produce us a culture. Ideally, we want all 8, but if I can get 4, that'd be at least a decent start. You know what? I'm actually going to be sitting here a while. I just realized this is a 3-minute recipe, and these guys are all running UV. Oh, I'm going to be here a while. All right, finally, it took a while, but we have all 8 of our cultures. So now we should be able to mass produce a lot of sterilized biocatalyst. So the only things we need to do over here now is swap everything out. So instead of using titanium, we're now going to be using tiny piles of infinity catalyst. And it looks like we ran out of unknown crystals, but that's fine. So with that over here, we also want to give this guy some of this. He should export out the excess. I might increase this to 1k. So it does 4k liters at a time. And yeah, we should be good with that. So in here, we want raw growth catalyst. We want our infinity, T-steady EC weed, unknown crystals, and stem cells. Same over here. And now we give them the new cultures. So along with the new cultures, we also need to provide a different item for the radio hatch. So if we look in here, we need to provide this guy with 140 sieverts. And I think the thing that gives exactly 140 is an enriched Naquata rod. Yeah, enriched Naquata should work just fine. So in here, we want enriched Naquata. And in here, one at a time. Okay, same over here. And the only thing this is missing to start working again is more unknown crystals. So I need to probably set up a limiter for that. So it'll always keep crafting. But unknown crystals, craft me another 1,000 to get going. All right. And we should see this thing turn on. Yes. And it went from 2,000 to 5,000. And it takes double the time. But this is the same amount of time it used to take us. So yeah, I'm happy with that. So now we're producing 5k at a time. And this has actually been running for a little while. So if we look in here at sterilized biocatalyst, which it looks like it has actually used it all because I actually turned this guy off. So if we look in here, we're at 200,000. Not bad. Turn you on. Makes 4k at a time. We don't need to hold on to any more. And with that now, we should get plenty of sterilized biocatalyst and we can make ourselves our mutated living circuit boards. Is it living or is it just biomutated? Just biomutated. So now, if we look up biomutated, craft, we're missing superconductor base foil and neutronium foil. That's the easy fix. Try that again. So craft me 10 of them. Actually, it does 16 at a time. So if we come over here now, we should see it being crafted. Yes, and it takes 3 seconds for 16 of them. And with the PCB factory now, we completely skipped over the need to craft these regular biocircuit boards. We don't need to use UV pumps, neutronium foil, UV circuits, 16,000 biosterilized catalysts. It only uses 4k for 16 of them because we doubled our output. And yeah, there we go. We basically unlocked the next tier of circuits. The only thing we need to do now is, of course, set up their patterns, but we'll do that next episode. So I'm going to call it there. Hope you all enjoyed. And if you did, don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe if you're new, and hit that notification bell when you're at it then as well. So without any further ado, goodbye.